The Gleg Arms Car Park, Heswall, 7 PM, every Thursday. Wirral World starts. This is going to fit in seamlessly, and you'll never know I forgot to record it until the end. Welcome to Wirral Worlds, the premier non-club group ride on Wirral on Thursday evenings. I'm very confident calling it that. This is essentially what Whirl Chaingang has evolved into. A couple of years ago I did a video of Whirl Chaingang just to show, people on my channel what a standard British chainee is like. I thought I would do another video because things have changed a little bit. I think it's worth showcasing again. I said in a video last year about my Macclesfield hill climbs that I wasn't going to Chaineys on Thursdays because I was doing hill climbs on Fridays, and that'll probably be true again this year. But as you can see, we're turning left here. Wirral Chaingang doesn't turn left here. Right, I'll stop doing the pretend surprise thing. This is slightly different. It's still fundamentally a group of people riding in Chaingang style, but for all of the years I've been cycling on Wirral. I did a Wirral Chaingang when I was 17, given that I've just turned 34. That is 17 years ago, which is deeply depressing. And in all that time they've been doing the same route, the same loop, and increasingly it's got like roadworks down it or traffic lights put on it and stuff, and it's just a bit of a pain. And from what I've understood, last year, because the whole summer was just such a washout, not many people came, and Robin, who organises this, who's in my rear view at the moment, the guy directly on my wheel, decided that if no one was going anyway, why not mix it up? Let's fundamentally still push ourselves really hard in the way that a Chaingang does, but let's do a different loop, let's try different things, etc. So this is essentially a lap of North Wirral, give or take. You go around the peninsula, and I'll show you some checkpoints along the way, some landmarks. We're going through Thornton Huff village at the moment, which is a lovely Tudor style village. I think it was Lord Leverhulme who built it. I'm not a historian. Okay, I work for Unilever. I should know what Lord Leverhulme did and didn't build, but I don't. So, just in case anyone is unfamiliar of what a Chaingang is, it's essentially an ever-rolling group of doing turns. So, in an ideal world, that's how, let's say, a breakaway from a peloton works. You work in a small group, you pull through fast on the right-hand side, you do a hard turn for 5 or 10 seconds, you pull in front, and the person behind you uses their increased speed to come through, and in theory it should keep the group pace really high. Now my metrics on the bottom left are slightly offset, they're about 10 seconds out, so it looks like I'm doing very low power when I'm on the front, which is a bit annoying, but you can see that the speed is consistently really pretty good. One of the issues with going around the Wirral is that we're going through towns and suburbs, we're hitting all sorts of different junctions, intersections, and one of the things that I used to worry about was, what if people just want to blow through these red lights? It's not really how I ride. And I can't praise Robin enough for the way he organises this. We go fast, we use all of the road, but I think it's always really respectful of other road users, of people who live around the route and stuff. We never do anything where I think, oh, we don't come out looking great as a result of doing that, Occasionally, if a light turns amber, you go through like any car driver would, really, but I never see us do anything in these that I think is even vaguely questionable. With it being a different route now, with it being Wirral Worlds, not Chaingang, in a way, I think it's been a bit better for mixed-ability. The Chaingang route was completely flat. There was one, 1% for a few hundred metres, and obviously then a slight descent, but really you couldn't get much flatter, whereas this is much more twisty-turny, slightly uppy-downy, nothing major, but actually all of these features make it slightly more interesting to ride. They make it harder to ride disciplined, and that gets things torn up quite a lot. The group really does get cut up, and that's a really convenient excuse for when one particular surgy bastard tears up the group. No, it was the roads, it was the incline or the traffic lights. It wasn't Nick Brownbill inexplicably doing 600 watts even though he's not very good. So we're just coming up through Tranmere now, and this little turn, it doesn't come out brilliantly on the camera. This is one of my favourite roads on Wirral, just because the view of the entire Liverpool skyline ahead of you is phenomenal. It's not a very big hill at all, but you just got a cracking view over the Mersey. When we lived around here, there used to be fireworks on the River Mersey on barges, and people in this neighbourhood, ever classy, used to pull their sofas out onto the road that evening and just sit on the pavement watching them. Didn't need to go into Liverpool city centre and cram in. You could just sit out with your neighbours, have, I don't know, a pint or a cup of tea or whatever, and watch. So we come down sort of northeast Wirral. We went through Bebbington up to Birkenhead, and now we're getting into the Wallasey Docks. There's good stretches of all of these roads where we do proper rotations, and there's lots of parts where we can't do proper rotations as well, but we're generally pretty good at doing them pretty well. The nice thing about the lights and stuff is there's loads of times to regroup, so as I say, I think it makes it slightly more accessible to mixed ability. In the old Chaingang loop, it was absolutely cutthroat, which is fine. I think that is what, the Chaingang should be an unapologetic drop ride. You go and you all go hard, and if you can't keep up, better luck next week, I suppose. But this isn't that, and that's quite nice that every time there's a junction, it's a chance to regroup, and we are sort of going really hard, but mindful of keeping everyone on, and so on. The previous week, I think I got a bit carried away. Robin enjoyed getting carried away with me. We did a bit of attacking each other and stuff, and it was a bit, I was going to say it was a bit too surgy. That's quite generous. It was really quite surgy, and by the time we got to Mel's and stuff, we just leant into it and went full on. So this week we kept saying, particularly to me as I pulled through, smooth. The dream is you carry the pace of the draft up and through, and when you hit the front, you increase your power such that your speed doesn't change, because you'll hit the wind, and inherently you would slow down, but actually what you want to do is hit the wind, increase your power, and maintain your speed perfectly, and that way the group never gets split up. Then you pull over to the left, you give draft to the person who's just done their pull, and you ease off the power so much that you slow down. That's how it should work, and in a lot of cases that's how it did work with this group. Now, the lads to the left of me here, James, and I didn't catch the name of the other guy, were really strong. And depending on the order, things could get a bit cut up. Everyone on this ride is strong, right? And now we're down to, I think, 6 people. There were no weak links, but there were certainly people who, some people come into it fresh, some people come into it fatigued. One of the lads here, I think his name was Chris, the following week, I think he said he had a burger and a sausage before coming out, and he's plenty strong enough to keep up. He just wanted to vomit, I think, which is understandable. So we come down this dual carriageway here. It's Wirral in the evenings. We've all got lights on. The roads are not particularly busy. We're never particularly holding up traffic, but as we're consistently doing 25 to 35 miles an hour and making sure there's space, we do use a whole lane, but not the whole road necessarily. Generally speaking, drive is very respectful, never felt unsafe, and the group is really good at communicating. Sudden stops are called before anyone even hits the brakes. Pulling out is gestured before anyone makes any strong moves. There was never any riding that made me feel nervous in a group. The following week, my mate Charlie came, and it had been a while since he'd been out, and he said he was feeling a bit nervous, and people were saying, tuck in tighter as you come through, as in be closer to the left because you'll give more draft. And it only took a couple of rotations for that to come back in, so I think this is a really good way of learning. I guess the sort of craft you would need in a race. As you can see, we're nowhere near as tight and on each other's shoulder as you would be if you were racing a crit, for example, but it's the same kind of things. You get used to watching the hips of the person in front of you such that you can both see the road and see their manoeuvres, you get used to being very close. Two features of particular interest on this are the railway bridges. They're not very steep, but as anyone who watches this will know, I'm not that strong. As a time trialist, all of these guys would smash me, hands down, any day of the week. They would absolutely batter me in a flat 10-mile time trial. So when we get to a slight hill, obviously, that's when I feel the need to go, look how good I am, which is both sad and pathetic. There's no need to do it, but inevitably, in a very friendly, light-hearted way, I get told, stop it, which is good. In the past, I've complained that chain gangs get too whingy. People either whinge that you're not going fast enough on the front, why aren't we doing 30 miles an hour, blah blah blah. Other people whinge, oh, you're pulling through too hard, I can't keep up, why are you doing that? And then occasionally there's a bit of that, like, oh, you know, this isn't the Club 10, why are you going so hard? And I always think that no one needs to apologise for that, like, keep up. But this doesn't have that atmosphere at all. I feel like it was really cooperative, and I've said that in the past, that it feels like a group trying to get the whole group around the course as fast as we can, and as hard as we can, which is really good. Here's another one of those railway bridges, just dropping down into Mells now, so we're a good way through. We're probably 50 minutes in, coming down to West Wirral now. The roads get a bit wider, but less well maintained. I'll start cutting some bits out, because we're going to come through Hoylake, and Hoylake's, it's just like a town high street, so there's plenty of times that we had to stop, be mindful of cars, all that sort of thing. Something I really like watching about the footage of these is, at the beginning, all the lads are on the tops, and by the end, most people are on the drops for most turns, and that's simply because the tireder you get, the more you need to tuck in when your mate is blasting through. And James, who's just come through and is then on my left there, he's like he's a very good cyclist. He was doing a road race a few days after this that looked like it went really well, and you can tell he's got that sort of power profile. He was just properly strong. By this point, coming into West Kirby, we were down to 3 people doing turns and a 4th guy sitting on. Something I've sort of admired and liked is that plenty of people can go, do you know what, I'm not feeling up to a turn, but I'll sit in. Not a problem at all. We're coming down to West Kirby Marine Lake now, and this road is lovely, but you'll see Robin neutralised us for this every week. He said we don't chain gang down here, and it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone. Okay, the speed limit doesn't apply to bikes, but drivers who've parked up pull out without looking constantly, and it can be dangerous. There is a cycle path there. In fact, last week there was a driver just driving in the cycle path. She pulled over so that we could pass on the right. Here we go, Toyota Aygo, not looking. If we were chain ganging, we'd have been going at least 10 kilometres an hour faster than that, and it would have been a sudden, pretty serious, like, everyone needs to stop. I've no doubt it wouldn't have been a problem, but it's a great reminder of why we neutralise in certain places, and things like that reassure me that, like, this is safe, and it didn't detract from my experience of this whatsoever. In fact, it helped. Something we've talked about is from here, basically out of West Kirby, we're about to come past Hickories and turn right, and maybe from here back to Heswell, we should just have basically a free-for-all. Try and stay together, but maybe lose the discipline of you do your turn, you pull in, you ease off, you do your turn, you pull in, you ease off. If people want to attack each other, so be it. Let's just make it, I don't want to say more fun, because it's all fun, but a bit more shenanigans based, do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's just being said because, frankly, I don't not do that anyway, because it's a little more rolly around here. There's more hills, we're towards the end. If I have 2 fortes is too strong a word, but if I have 2 very minor strengths on the bike, it's still being able to punch with fatigue in my legs, and it's hills. So I do, I guess, turn the screw a little bit in the last couple of weeks. I hope it doesn't annoy people. If it actively annoyed people, I think I would stop, but it's a nice way for me to really fully fatigue myself. Sorry that the front camera's struggling with stabilisation here. The mount I've got just doesn't doesn't do what it used to do, and now these road surfaces are a bit crap and it's a bit all over the place. I apologise if it makes you seasick. Coming down into Caldy Village, this is like, you know, footballers, drug dealers, businessmen, fancy area. There's this nice little sharp turn that I love as a feature, and I got a bit carried away. There's absolutely no need for me to be going over the other side of the road to attack Robin, and I believe he came up to me after this and just said, "That was a bit cruel." It wasn't a chastisement, but there was no need for me to make that gap, was there? As summer goes on, obviously it'll stay lighter later on these. We bring lights as default and people put them on, use them later. It's never actually dark, but when you get that low sun, it doesn't hurt for a bit of safety to have the light on. And we're coming up to Thurston Hill here, which is one of my favourite training hills. I was a bit of a dick. I didn't mean to. Sometimes I do stuff and you think afterwards, wow, you came across as a massive knob there. But I pulled up alongside James. I said, "Do you like the hills then?" And he said, "Oh, you know, I think I'm fairly punchy. I wouldn't go out of my way for them." And I went, "Oh yeah, I like them." And then I just attacked. Sounds like I pulled up just to sort of brag, doesn't it? Or just to be a dickhead. But that was socially awkward. Nick just being like, "I like hills." Anyway, the following week, Robin and James both attacked me up here, and we sort of had a good hit out. And I suspect if we keep doing this route, it'll become a de facto, like, that's the attack point. And really, after there, everyone's emptied the tank, so it becomes a bit more neutral afterwards. It's a bit fiddly rolling through Irby, and it becomes a bit more social. It was less chain gang. So, nice to chat. I realise, as I record this, I didn't tell anyone where we meet or anything, but I'll put all of that in at the beginning, and it'll be like, by magic, I'll have had all my information ready. For the sake of this video, I made this loop segment on Strava just so I could tell you some stats. Obviously, we start and end at the same point, so the average gradient is 0%. It's 45 kilometers long, and you know, whilst doing these, we average about 35 kilometers an hour for the entire loop, which, considering through towns we have to stop and stuff, I think is not bad going. It's nowhere near the preposterous speeds that we were doing on the old Chaingang loop. So that's it. I know that's a very boring video. Sorry everyone. If you're a Wirral rider, hopefully you've gone, well, I'm going to get myself down to the Gleg Arms car park for 7 PM every Thursday. I want in on the action. I'd really recommend it. It's great training, it's great fun, and here we are ending with the traditional sprint finish. I never stood a chance. These guys are fast as anything. Both of these chaps do like road racing, crit racing. They definitely know how to punch at the end of a hard training ride much better than I do. So that's fine, and that's all part of the joy of it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you at a Wirral Worlds ride soon.